Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new Pokemon TCG video. Today we're going to be taking a look at a deck that focuses on the Salamence from the Roaring Skies set. I have to say that it's a little bit difficult to bring it out into play. I mean, it is a stage 2 Pokemon, so it does require quite a bit of deck space, just cards such as Rare Candy, its previous evolutions, things like that. But I have to say that it's a very satisfying Pokemon to bring out and do a lot of damage with. Whenever we are able to do so. So first of all, let's discuss Salamance's multiple attacks. Salamence has the Shatter attack, which allows us to hit for 60 damage for a single Fire Energy card and discard any Stadium card in play. So pretty solid attack. We could use it depending on the certain sorts of situations, and of course it's very cheap to use this attack. So pretty cool attack. Power Howl is very dependent on the number of cards that the opponent has in their hand, allowing us to hit 20 damage times the number of cards in our opponent's hand. So depending on, of course, the number of cards that the opponent has in their hand, it can be pretty useful, but not a very reliable attack, so we're probably not going to be using Power Howl all that much. We also have the Steam Blast attack, which hits for a massive 170 damage. However, it is pretty energetically expensive for us to set up, and it does require us to discard 3 energy cards attached to the Salamence whenever we do use the Steam Blast attack. So very energetically expensive. Usually it would be some sort of last resort attack for us, or a one-hit knockout mechanism in case we are facing a EX Pokemon. So Salamence is going to be the main attacker in our deck. We are going to be running it in combination with 2 copies of the Hydreigon EX. Hydreigon EX is mainly there just for its Dragon Road ability, allowing our Dragon type Pokemon to have less retreat costs, provided of course that there is a Stadium card in play. We're probably not really going to be using the Shred attack. Maybe depending on certain situations we may actually use the Hydreigon EX, but it's mainly really used for its special ability. Reshiram, same sort of purpose as the Hydreigon EX. I mean, it's really only there for us to make use of its special ability. Turbo Blaze will allow us to speed up the rate of energy attachments to our Salamence, and then hopefully we can get it started much earlier. So Turbo Blaze will allow us to attach a Fire Energy card from our hand to one of our Dragon type Pokemon, but the caveat is that the Reshiram has to be our active Pokemon in case we would like to make use of this ability. So luckily for us, we are running a lot of switches and escape ropes just for us to be able to make use of the Reshiram special ability and then switch it out for one of our bench Pokemon. And of course there is always the Hydreigon EX allowing us for that free retreat. Speaking of switches and escape rope, we're running 2 copies of switch and a single copy of the escape rope. We're also going to be running a total of 3 copies of the Rare Candy. Of course, this is not a card that really needs a whole ton of explaining, just so that we can bring out the Salamence earlier, evolve the Bagon into the Salamence whenever possible. So we're running 3 copies of the Rare Candy in our deck. Pretty useful card. So yeah, that's pretty much its entire purpose. We're running the Dowsing Machine as our ace spec. We have a whole ton of useful item cards and trainer cards that we would like to be able to reuse, such as the Sacred Ash, for example, the Rare Candies, maybe even our Stadium cards, and of course these switches. So I decided to go with the Dowsing Machine. Computer Search is another very solid option, but we're going to be sticking with this card for the time being. Sacred Ash is another card that we are running in our deck, guys. Reason being is that we're probably going to discard quite a few of our Pokemon through cards such as the Juniper, possibly Ultra Balls, things like that. Sacred Ash will allow us to bring those discarded Pokemon back into the deck. So very useful card. We are running a single copy of it. Again, in case we'd like to be able to reuse it again, there is always the Dowsing Machine which will allow us to do so. We're running a total of 4 copies of the Ultra Ball as well, just to allow us to grab onto any of the Pokemon that we need. 3 VS Seekers to make use of any of our supporter type cards. A single Colress for Ensign for Junipers for some draw support. 1 Lysander to lure out any of our opponent's bench Pokemon. A Teammates card in case any of our Pokemon do get knocked out. We can search our deck for any 2 cards that we want. A single Wally, allowing us to evolve one of our Pokemon the very same turn that we laid it down into the field. Also briefly want to discuss the Training Center Stadium card. It will allow us to increase the total HP of each of our Stage 1 and Stage 2 Pokemon by an additional 30 HP. So this can make Salamence have a massive 190 HP. So I thought it was a pretty cool Stadium card. Also felt like we needed one to counter cards such as Verbank City Gym, Silent Lab, things like that. So Training Center was the Stadium card that I decided to stick with. And we're ultimately running a total of 14 energy cards. 7 of them are fire energies, 3 of them are water energies, and 4 of them are the double dragon energy. And of course we're running 2 copies of the muscle band to increase the total damage output of each of our Pokemon. So with that, guys, we're gonna go and find ourselves an opponent. I still feel like this deck needs a lot of heavy testing. I've only been playing it very just a little bit right now. I've just been tweaking things here and there, and hopefully it's going to be ready soon. I'm thinking we're going to be facing a Trevenant, Seismitoad EX, and Shaman EX deck, just based on the deck composition of our opponent. And okay, so it looks like I was wrong. We are seeing the Curlia. So it could be a pretty interesting battle. Not really sure what type of deck our opponent is going to be running. So let's go and start off by attaching a Fire Energy card to our Bacon and a Muscle Band as well. No, well, yeah, you know what? I don't think we're facing a Seismitoad EX, but let's end off our turn by using the Wally and bringing out the Shelgon. And yeah, so that's going to be it, guys. So with that, we're going to go and end the turn. I could bring out the Salamence during our next turn in case I decide to use the VS Seeker once again to look for that Wally. The opponent is going to use the Winona. Probably look for another Miltank, maybe a Shaman EX for some draw support. Not really sure what type of deck our opponent is running. We're seeing the Swablu, Rayquaza EX, and Shaman EX. Okay, so that Curlia, pretty unusual in a Mega Rayquaza EX sort of deck. So, I'm guessing it's just because our opponent wants to make use of that Miltank. So this is a very, very atypical Mega Rayquaza EX deck that our opponent is running, and it looks like his E-Spec is the Master Ball. Not a very common E-Spec card. In fact, it's probably one of the worst E-Spec cards in the game. So I'm not really sure what to expect from our opponent. I mean, he's just running a whole ton of weird cards that I really would not expect from a Mega Rayquaza EX deck. Battle Compressor, probably going to get a couple of energy cards into the discard pile. Maybe even some Executes as well, which our opponent can then retreat. And okay, so looks like we're seeing a Rayquaza Spirit Link and a Psychic Energy card going into the discard pile. Another Shaman EX coming out, allowing our opponent to be able to draw onto some additional cards. And looks like that is going to be how our opponent is going to end their turn. You know what? I feel like we're probably going to need another Pokemon. So I don't think using the Wally would be all that wise of an option, just in case that Mega Rayquaza EX does perform the one-hit knockout on us and our opponent's Miltank retreat. So let's go and attach another Fire Energy card to him. I'm gonna go, no, you know what, let's not attach the Muscle Band just yet. May not be all that wise of an option. I think I'm gonna use the N, guys. I don't really want to discard all these useful cards. You know what, actually, sorry, I wanted to use the Colress, but you know what, Juniper is probably a better option right now. I don't think it would be all that wise. And awesome, looks like we're gonna get the Salamence. Let's go and bring it out, bring two of our Bagans into the bench, and then use the Shatter to get rid of our opponent's Stadium card and hit that Miltank for 80 damage. Alright, so I'm probably going to use the VS Seeker again during our next turn, guys, to look for another Juniper, probably the Colress as well. There are a total of 7 Pokemon in play right now. Okay, looks like the opponent is actually going to use the N. We are seeing the Skyfield Stadium card come out once again. Just a very unusual strategy that our opponent is playing, guys. I'm going to go and use the Ultra Ball, get rid of the Fire Energy card from our hand, and the Dowsing Machine as well to look for that Hydreigon EX, and then lay it down into the bench. I don't think I'm going to need to attach another energy card onto the Salamence just yet, so let's go and attach a Double Dragon Energy to one of our Bagans, use that VS Seeker, and grab that Colress, use it for some new cards in our hand. Another Hydreigon EX. Now our Salamence is able to freely retreat. Normally it has a massive 4 retreat cost, but with 2 Hydreigon EXs, we are now able to freely switch in between our Pokemon. Let's go and bring out another Bagan, but you know what? I don't think we need to switch out our Salamence just yet, guys. So let's go and use the Shatter. Let's bring out another Reshiram onto our bench, and then use the Shatter, get rid of our opponent's Skyfield Stadium card, and that Miltank as well. Actually, I shouldn't have laid down the Reshiram, but that's okay. Let's just get rid of one of our Bagans for now, and then draw onto our very first prize card. I'm thinking we're probably going to see that Mega Rayquaza EX coming out. Probably going to knock out our Salamence with a single attack, guys. And I'm probably going to be using the Ultra Ball to look for another one of our Salamences from our deck so that we can bring it out at play. So let's see what our opponent decides to do. And yeah, so we'll go from there. Hopefully our opponent is unable to knock out his Salamence. I mean, all he really... Okay, yeah, so it looks like the Salamence is unfortunately going to get knocked out. Team Flare Grunt for some reason. No idea why the opponent decided to use it. I mean, it looks like he's going to knock out our Salamence anyways. Just a very, very unusual game for us. Alright, so let's go and temporarily bring out the Reshiram so that we can make use of its special ability. I'm going to go and lay down another Reshiram onto our bench. Let's go and use Turbo Blaze. Attach a Fire Energy card to the Bagan. Use the Ultra Ball, get rid of 2 of our ends from our hand, and then look for a Salamence. Let's go and use that Rare Candy to bring out the Salamence, and then I'm going to go and use the VS Seeker for the Colress to get some new cards in our hand. And alright, so Sacred Ash, I told you guys I felt like it would come in handy, so let's go and recycle all of those Shelgons, Bagons, and the Salamances back into our deck. I've already used the Turbo Blaze. I could use the Steam Blast attack, which I think is probably what I would like to do. So let's go and attach another Fire Energy card to the Salamence, retreat that Reshiram, and then use the Steam Blast attack, hit our opponent's Mega Rayquaza EX for a massive 170 damage, and then discard 3 energy cards from the Salamence. Unfortunately, hopefully our Salamence is able to survive. I mean, the opponent only needs to bring out another Pokemon onto their bench, and then that Mega Rayquaza EX can perform the big one-hit knockout on our Salamence. But we should definitely be able to get rid of it during our next turn. So it looks like we are seeing a Professor Juniper. The Curlia is coming out as well. Again, just a very unusual Pokemon. A Mew EX is pretty unusual as well, but I'm assuming the opponent is using it for the purposes of making use of the Emerald Break attack on another one of his Pokemon. We're seeing another Mega Rayquaza EX coming out, but no Rayquaza EXs at play just yet. Salamence getting hit for 150 damage. Looks like it is going to survive with a mere 10 HP, so I'm quite happy about that, guys. And I think I'm going to go and bring out a Hydreigon EX temporarily to attack. So let's go and, first of all, retreat to bring out the Reshiram. Actually, yeah, sorry, I do have the switch in our hand, so let's go and use the Turbo Blaze attack. Sorry, Turbo Blaze ability. Attach a Fire Energy card to the Hydreigon EX, a Double Dragon Energy as well. Use the switch, bring out the Hydreigon EX, and then use the Shred attack to knock out our opponent's Mega Rayquaza EX and draw onto 2 of our prize cards. Alright, so things are looking pretty good for us. I think there's a pretty good chance that we are going to be able to go on to the victory. The opponent's Shaman EX is going to come out. I think our opponent probably has some more of their Rayquaza EXs prized. I mean, otherwise I don't really see the reason why the opponent decided to bring out a Mega Rayquaza EX into their hand. Shaman EX is going to knock out our Salamence and go back into the opponent's hand. So let's go and temporarily bring out the Reshiram. I could, of course, make use of its Turbo Blaze ability. Let's go and use the Teammates card to look for a Salamence and a rare candy as well. So that's kind of cool. Teammates certainly does come in handy quite a bit, actually. So let's go and bring out the Salamence. I mean, I don't have the energy cards just yet to be able to attack with the Salamence. So I'm going to go and attach a Water Energy card to it, and then I'm going to go and retreat to bring out the Hydreigon EX. Let's go and use the Shred attack, knock out our opponent's Swablu, and draw onto another one of our prize cards. So things are not looking good for our opponent whatsoever right now, guys. He only has 4 Pokemon. Not a single one of them have any energy cards attached to them. And we're seeing the very unusual Gallade in a Mega Rayquaza EX deck. Again, I'm not really sure what our opponent was thinking with respects to including it in their deck. I feel like it just takes up a whole lot of deck space, and Mega Rayquaza EX doesn't really need a Gallade. Okay, so it looks like we are going to be able to win, guys. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.